Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're joined by guest Austen Tucker to ponder the question, what if we treated communication gaps like tech debt? And for full transparency, Austin and I work together and have worked together in the past. So Austin, take it. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how this question came up?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. So this question really is the culmination of doing many years of facilitation for tech teams, and it's sort of an observation I've seen at many different companies, and it's been my life's work in my career to sort of address these communication gaps because I see them as the original sin of all tech debt, all rewrites. It really does come down to if we if we actually communicated a little bit better, we would avoid a lot of these gaps that really boil down to communication issues. It's come up in my professional life. Just new company, you walk in, you see what the gaps in communication are, and I'm currently deep in that process with our company Active Campaign.
So let's start there because I know I walk into a code base and I start sniffing around and I pretty quickly can tell you what parts of the code base are bad, which doesn't translate to what parts of the code base should actually be replaced. It's one of the main themes is uh, you, just because something is bad doesn't mean that you should willy-nilly replace it.
Mhm.
So how do you identify, like what do um, communication gaps look like to you, or how do you recognize a communication
Mm,
gap?
excellent question. The primary thing that I listen for is I didn't know that. I listen for watchwords. I didn't know that. Wait, we can do that. I thought you were doing that. Uh, these will come up if a company is not communicating well and
Mm-hmm.
a sort of a culture of professionals is not communicating well. That'll come up very often. I listen for friction. So if I hear, oh, that's just Janet being Janet, I listen for that. These are sort of watchwords that when I hear that, I can ask
Hmm.
questions because usually people don't get angry at each other just because you take your coffee differently. People get angry at each other because there was an expectation that wasn't met.
Hmm.
And at the point that I'm hearing the friction, I know that there has been in the past unmet expectations, and those will happen again unless we fix the communication issue.
So, like with a lot of tech debt problems, things, common things that you hear is, oh, well, we know we need to upgrade the libraries or fix this bad piece of code, but this other stuff is more important. Do communication gaps have similar things where, oh, yes, I know I need to go talk to Bob, and I don't think there's any Bobs that we work with. So I know I need to talk to Bob, but Carl is louder, so I need to talk. So I'm going to talk to Carl instead.
Yeah, so funny story. I got into tech after going to college to be a high school English teacher. So
Mm.
what I bring to the table that's a little unique is, and this blows my mind really, the business workshop world on the internet is over here and it's its own ecosystem of here are some workshops, here's some things that you can just pull out of your back pocket and run. And then over here you have the pedagogy internet, which is all of the teachers who run honestly the most complicated stakeholder management in the world. 120 kids who all have different needs, different wants, different desires, and some of them actively want you to fail. Like the fact that we're not listening to teachers and taking the lessons that these people who have trained to impart knowledge to people, that we're not listening to them and like taking their lessons, it,
I mean,
it
but Austin, we
blows my
pay them
mind.
very little. That's capitalism has spoken that they don't know anything.
I mean, guess why I'm here and not in an English classroom.
Okay, so communication styles and problems. So how do communication gaps result in, say, more tech debt or make tech debt intractable?
Yeah. Well, here's a imagine you were making pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love physical metaphors. They make abstract concepts a little easier. Let's say that we're all making a pizza together. I'm gonna make the dough. Jeffrey, you're gonna make the sauce. Isaac, you're gonna source the toppings. Cool, great. Here's the thing. I don't know what your level of pizza making is, and if that's all that I do,
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey, you might make a pizza that's really sage heavy, like a pizza sauce.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know, you put a bunch of sage in because you like sage,
I do
and
like
then
sage.
Isaac, you get me a sausage that uses thyme instead, so it clashes with the sauce, right? And then I make a dough, and it's thin and crackery instead of everyone really wanted like a regular hand tossed crust. And by the time that we realize what we've done, oh
Hmm.
crap, we've already baked a terrible pizza.
Mhm.
Right. It's
Whereas
too.
it's too late, right?
This feels like an analogy with lean and just in time, where if you don't know what kind of dough and what kind of sauce and what kind of toppings that you're going to put together, by the time you have all those pieces together and it becomes obvious, it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Whereas if we used so just as an example, I last week I had a bunch of people come in, and this was a way that I addressed a communication gap. I everyone had everyone came in saying, yeah, I communicated very clearly, like, here's all of the Figma documents, here's the specifications. We wrote a PRD, and so I sat down, I printed out everything, I handed it over, and I said, I want you to make this physical, lay it out on the table for me, so that I can see every step of the process. And there was kind of oh, that's easy, and then the reality set in, and I was like, oh, this is going to be good,
Hmm.
right? Like, the only difference in the conversation, like, the same data got communicated. The only difference is that I forced everyone to sit down to the table and actually physically build a model together. Like, I forced them to prototype without writing code.
Hmm.
And like that, as a facilitator, when I walk in and I see, oh, we're having trouble with requirements are being missed, and I don't want to say that they've been missed. It's just, the requirements
Overlooked.
document. We go out, we do something, we come back, we go, this wasn't what we wanted, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Finding way, me as a facilitator, I want to find ways to speed up that flywheel, so that instead of spending 6 weeks developing something that doesn't match our needs, we spend 2 hours knocking something out, so we all know and can tell the story of, this is the component we're building, this is why we're building it, and this is the value we think it will result that will result from it, I should say. So and it really does come down to setting those expectations, agreeing on what we're going to deliver, and then finding ways to work together very quickly to get things done. And um, this is something to edit out later, but do you edit? I don't know. Is this going to be a thing that ends up in the podcast anyway?
Probably.
Uh,
Go ahead, say it.
Say it
Okay.
now.
So another thing that I sort of worked on is this is a solved problem now with AI.
Hmm.
You can create, and this is a one paragraph prompt I'm happy to provide. What my prompt does is it takes from the pedagogy community, so it looks at high school English teachers and math teachers and all of the activities you learned in high school, uses those, translates them into business speak, and then explains why. So it says, hey,
Ooh.
here's your agenda, here's
Yeah.
why I chose the activities that I chose, here are the things you need to do to maximize learning retention. It's like having a teacher in your back pocket review all of your meetings, and
Oh, I would
it's
love this
incredible.
prompt.
I feel like we should almost start over and to do a new episode on using AI to act as a teacher to set up your meetings so that you can get a lot out of your meetings, because that's a horse we beat a lot.
I
Yeah,
would love to do it on a separate episode for sure.
Yeah. All right. But,
yeah. No, it will be better later. It's just not quite there yet. I put this together yesterday, and I'm still just like, wait a minute, this thing's better than me. Oh, the existential dread.
Nice.
Okay, but going back to the topic of communication gaps and tech debt. If, like, I remember at Guaranteed Rate, they had a mantra of the third response, pick up the damn phone. Where, 2 emails, you email, you respond. If you're going to reply back to that email, pick up the damn phone, was one of their mantras. And I always laughed at that because nobody had phones on their desks. Or maybe that was the last place I was ever at that had a phone on my desk. Now I don't even have a desk. Or I do have a desk, but it's literally my desk. And it has no phone. Actually, my phone is on it.
Continue.
Continue. I am in the weeds. Part of the reason that there's gaps now, or are gaps getting worse because people are not physically near each other and they don't have the inclination to pick up phones?
Yes and yes. And I don't think the solution is, and this comes up a lot. I don't think the solution is, pull everybody in so we can get those organic conversations. I think the solution is instead, how can we make, hey, we have to go into the office and actually get together and talk this out. Mm-hmm. How do we make that exciting enough that people are willing to do it? Go ahead.
Like earlier when you mentioned saying, hey, we're actually going to physically get everyone in a room and like try to make this model happen. Can we print out this PRD? Is there any way to like facilitate that, like in some kind of software where everyone's joining and trying to build it together so that, that remote people can do that same discovery work essentially?
Yeah, you could certainly do this in a Mural or a Miro or whatever whiteboarding software you have access to. It seems like everyone's got one nowadays. Mm-hmm. It really does basically come down to take pictures of whatever prototype you have, put them on the page, physically move a token from place to place and say, hey, this goes to the next page. What data does it go through? What data processes do we need to do to it? What calls do we need to make, et cetera, et cetera? You physically create like new things for that. And you start it's called, in pedagogy, we call it chunking. Mm-hmm. So like the human brain is only able to hold on to 4 to 7 ideas at once. And the reason experts seem like they can do more is that they know how to chunk the information.
Yeah.
So if we build a meeting, if we build a thing that chunks the information for folks in the room, we do what's called scaffolding, which gives people the ability to succeed even if they don't have the knowledge to do so already in their head. It's kind of like the concept behind training wheels, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that like teachers have been doing for centuries, and we've never thought to bring these kinds of innovative solutions into the business world. And I think physically getting people into the office is one thing. It is one part of the equation. And I think the problems have gotten worse because we're all remote, one, so we only get together when we're on the phone and we plan to do so. And two, because we all kind of suck at facilitating conversations. Like, if you think about it, just as human beings, we kind of suck at this.
Yeah. I think software developers are especially awesome at facilitating conversations. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had deep conversations with software engineers. I've certainly never had to juice a room full of software engineers to be like, okay, somebody please stand up and help me because I'm just alone up here.
Is dripping in this.
Yes.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a bunch of software nerds asking you to participate.
So that's why I really enjoy this analogy of a classroom, or like just the software engineers being kids, or I guess everybody being kids in this case here.
Hmm.
Um, because you do have to facilitate that communication in a similar way, because we're just a lot of us are just very large grown up people with children mindsets when it comes to communication.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I guess in that sense, how do you kind of establish yourself as somebody with authority in the same way? Because if you're there to begin with, and children come to the classroom, they
Hmm.
immediately see you as the teacher. Whereas if you come into an organization that's already been established and they've already got these
Hmm.
bad practices that you're talking about with, oh, that's just Janet being Janet, and
Hmm.
how do you come in and change it without being like the substitute teacher everyone laughs at?
That's a great question, and I think the thing that I want to talk a little bit. There's a bit of an assumption that I heard in the way
Mm.
that you worded this, where adults are just kids with
Big kids.
yeah, big kids. Guess what the difference is between a 15-year-old and a 40-year-old? Like,
Experience.
other than experience, of course, but the only difference is that at the age of about 18, 19, we gain the ability to understand abstract concepts like,
Really?
war, peace, love. Yeah, those kind of big ideas. We finally get the ability to understand and internalize them.
Hmm.
But other than that, your brain is pretty much the same, maybe just a bit more wrinkly. Like, you still have a 15-minute attention span. You can't
Mhm.
just muscle your way through something. You need to change your task every 15 minutes. You still have the same memory limits. You still have the same forgetting curve that a child does. The only difference is that instead of me walking in and saying, "Hey, I'm the person who knows everything," I need to pull everybody along and make them feel like they're a part of the
Mhm.
solution. And so when it comes down to like getting authority, I'm not asking for authority. I Nobody likes to be in communication gaps. Like,
Mhm.
no one is enjoying the fact that I feel really bad for the Janets in the audience. If there's a Janet listening, like, I'm sorry, but
If you use the name
Janet,
too much,
it's
and
just
you,
Janet
Karen.
being Janet, right? Uh, no one likes that. No one wants to be mad at Janet. Janet doesn't want anyone mad at her. In fact, she thinks she's doing the best she can and doesn't understand why things are tense,
Hmm.
right? So I don't come in as an authority. I come in as relief. I'm like, hey, this sucks.
Hmm.
All of this sucks. Like, there's a better way, and I'm going to help teach it.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing that's really interesting about classroom management is that you think that kids crave anarchy and just being able to run around, but really kids crave order, and kids really want to make adults happy, like the adult in the room, and that you can still kind of pull on that as a facilitator.
Hmm.
No one wants to stand up and lead the room, so the person who stands up and leads the room becomes kind of that teacher
Ah,
figure, right?
somebody's in
It,
charge, kind of feeling. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
oh my god, finally somebody's in charge, somebody's driving the conversation.
We're gonna finally fix the problem. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, so that's something I wanted to get to because we're going with analogy and tech debt, and
Mhm.
the feeling that tech debt is insurmountable. It can't be, or everyone knows it's bad. No one knows how to fix it. And now somebody comes along, and usually the thing that somebody comes along and says is, "We're going to fix it. We're going to do a rewrite. We're going to throw all the old stuff away, and it's going to throw away all the old problems, and we're going to do it right, and it's going to be wonderful." When you're
Mhm.
talking about a communication gap, and you come in and you're saying, "Okay, now we're going to fix it," is are you saying throw away the old communication styles?
No, no, absolutely not. What I This is a very interesting thing, a very important thing. If you take nothing from this, remember cognitive load theory. And the idea is that we want to reduce the amount. So the idea is you can only take so much on your brain at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are two types of load that we can put on the brain. There's germane load, which is where the learning happens and we get better at things. And there's extraneous load, which is all of the junk that sort of surrounds the meaningful work. It's, oh, we got to make sure that we write the report. we got to get approval from Kevin. We gotta get. I'm just pulling names out of a hat here.
It's okay.
But no, like what you do is you need to chunk the information and make it small enough to be digestible. You find one habit and you fix it, and you don't fix it with what, like, you don't go googling and say, oh well, this expert said we should do this. We find answers based on fixing the root of the communication gap. Is the root that the business doesn't feel like they can trust engineering to deliver, and so they're pushing for a rewrite? Well, maybe the answer isn't a full rewrite. Maybe the answer is, what's one small thing that we can fix today, right? And I have found that if you go for the rewrite, if you go for the big change, the big splash, you run into issues almost immediately because you've overwhelmed everyone's cognitive load. Mm-hmm. And what do people do when they get cognitively overloaded? They check out. Yeah, sure thing. Whatever you want, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And you are immediately getting worse product because of it. And I think the real rewrite trap is the friends we made along the way who yelled at us to do the whole thing at once. But seriously, like, people want to make big changes, which is great, but you can't do it without blowing out everyone's brains, like, cognitively speaking. Find ways to channel the load. Yeah. Find ways to do smaller things. Rewrite one. Like, if you're really hard for a rewrite, this
is an interesting view of it, Jeffrey, because we always talk about the thesis ship approach, or this kind of do one thing at a time, iterative delivery approach, for the sake of getting something in front of the customer, smaller pieces delivered, making progress that way. But we've never really approached it from the concept of, also, that's just easier cognitively to understand when we break it apart into pieces. We know what we're doing, whereas wrapping our head around every big picture item is just inherently more difficult because it's inherently more complex.
I think, we're so deep into it that it's just implied in our heads of, well, of course, changing 1 million lines of code is harder than changing 100.
But it won't be 1 million. It'll be 500,000 because it'll be so clean in the rewrite. The stories we tell.
It'll be so dry.
Yeah, there's also a very interesting. There's two problems that I want to bring up here that you're outlining, like, pedagogically. One is the curse of knowledge, which is that once you have knowledge, so once you've learned a code base, once you've learned a business process, it is very difficult to imagine a life where you don't understand it. It's like, can you imagine what it's like to not know how to scramble an egg?
I've run into this, actually, where when I joined the company I'm currently at, people were doing things a certain way, and I asked them, why are you doing it this way? And like, oh, this is just the way I've been taught to do it. And I'm like, oh, well, I could write a script that would automate all that, and you wouldn't even have to do that anymore. Like, they were like manually copying stuff from spreadsheets, for example. I'm like, I can just import a spreadsheet. I can write something that can parse this. But they were so caught up in that from it being a small company, and there was just a spreadsheet of 10 things, and it was easy to do, who cares, that once it became a spreadsheet of 300, it was like, oh, I just got this chore to do. And they never stopped to think, how do I step outside of the world I've created, and like kind of the metacognition, thinking about the way you're thinking and doing things, to change that. So that super resonates with me, because like some of the biggest impact I've made is like coming outside of the scope and realizing, guys, what we're doing here is kind of wild. There's a lot of mechanical Turk happening that we could really easily automate, that people just kind of get drowned in, like they become really acclimated to their chaos.
So there's that. There's also the knowledge transfer problem, and that is, let's go back to that pizza example, right?
Sure.
Let's say that I teach you how to make pizza from scratch, right? I teach you how to make the dough, I teach you how to make the sauce, I teach you how to make the toppings. Great. Now I say, hey, you know how to bake now because you've made a pizza crust. Can you bake a loaf of bread for me? The skills are kind of the same. And like, if you know what you're doing, like, yeah, a pizza crust is basically just a quick bread or like a yeasty bread, and
Hmm.
you know, throw it in a loaf pan and bake it, and you get bread. But
Would you?
exactly, because that knowledge may not fully transfer. Like I can tell you, I can set up the scaffolding for you if I know if I'm there and I'm teaching you. I can say, hey,
Mhm.
it's literally the same thing. You've already made bread. You just need to put it in a loaf, and boom, you've got bread. Um, the yeah. Sorry, I lost my thought there, but
You were
I,
talking
it's
about knowledge transfer and how
yeah,
if you don't know the theory, if you teach someone to do something, but you don't teach them the theory behind it, then all you've taught them is to, in this case, make pizza, and they don't know how to bake.
right, right, exactly. And what a good teacher will do, let's say that I want to teach you to bake, and you say you want to bake, right? I'm going to teach you how to make a pizza. It's the thing that you really like. And I'm
mhm.
going to teach you some cheats. I'm going to be like, hey, we're going to go get jarred sauce. We're going to go get like just a block of mozzarella that we're going to shred, and we're just going to make cheese pizza,
Mhm.
right? We're going to do that. We're going to focus only on the dough,
Oh, I like this. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
right? Because I've let you cheat on everything else. Like you don't have to make tomato sauce from scratch. We can just buy jarred. We
Hmm.
Mhm.
don't have to source really nice mozzarella and like soprezzo sausage. We're just working on like we're like learning how to make pizza here. So we're
You
just gonna
spend all
buy a
the
bunch of
extra time on the dough part. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Reduce the cognitive load for the other items. Yeah.
exactly. And like these are not hard concepts to teach, and they like once you hear them, they make common sense.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So like my theory, and I've not had a chance to drive this yet, unfortunately, is that if you taught some basic cognitive like pedagogical techniques at the company level or
Mm.
had an AI to it,
Hmm.
I think you could see a multiplicative effect because every decision at a company begins with a meeting.
Hmm. So I think you had everyone until this last part where people might say, "Uh oh, Austin says more meetings," and then everybody was just going to tune right out. Thankfully, we put it at the end.
Oh no, I love murdering meetings. Like that's one of the things that I do it. You know, at my level, I can look at everyone's calendars and I can say, hey, why are we having all of these one-on-ones?
Mhm.
Why are we why are we having why is everyone's calendar just completely jam-packed? Or, you know, what how can we reduce this load so people aren't doing work at 6 o'clock in the evening? Right.
Hmm.
And it comes down to make better meetings,
Yeah.
make better use of people's time,
And use many metaphors and analogies to
as
get your points
many as
across.
you can cram in.
That makes sense.
Yeah, metaphors are great.
We've done some pretty crazy ones that we've stretched here.
I mean, our fundamental thesis shipping is a
Yeah.
metaphor.
Yeah,
It's a stretch metaphor where we've replaced all the original pieces.
Ha.
Ha ha ha.
yeah. New ship. Who dis?
Yeah. Theseus is this. All right. I think we got to cut it off. Austin, if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about what you do or just hear more from you, where should they go?
Yeah, so I have a site at thearcades.me. I also have a LinkedIn blog called It Came from the Arcades, where
Hmm.
I write about my adventures in using AI to improve communication at companies and
Cool.
generally like make my life easier. So if you like that kind of stuff, head on over there and follow me there.
I will
Awesome.
definitely be.
Well, thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.